Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best Warhammer podcast on the market, the Large Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Stoney, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt.
Dig your trenches, not straight.
And man like Welshie.
I'm just so happy, guys.
And today we're going to be talking about positivity in Warhammer. We're going to be getting happy because you might be thinking at home, oh, Large Blast Podcast, they're a bunch of negative Nancy's. Well, not today, baby. We're happy, and we like to kick things off with a little bit of hobby progress of what keeps us happy. Welshie, you are the man that pretty much carries hobby progress. What have you been up to?
So much, but I'll save the Space Marine talk to. I've been playing it a lot and I still love it. But I've been doing some real life 40k as well. I'm getting very close to a project I've been working on for a while now, which is making some cool dioramas based on Space Marine 2, the game. So I've been doing the basing for them. And I've do you know the big plastic tiles that came out? They're like 2 foot by 2 foot.
Yeah.
I've been using them to make bases. So literally just blue stuffing a section of those plastic tiles and then milliputting it and then cutting it to a base disc and sticking it on. And it's been super effective. So instead of buying those pre-made bases, you literally you can just milliput and blue stuff from the plastic that already exists. It works really well.
Oh, okay. So it just acts like a little carpet that you put on top of your base and
yeah,
go.
Yeah, essentially it's like making, you know, those green stuff rollers that are really good that you roll over the top. You're essentially making your own roller, which is, it's cool. So I've been making some of those, and I've been making some swamp bases as well, because there's kind of two worlds within Space Marine 2. You're either fighting in like a swampy mud planet or you're fighting in a hive city. So I've tried to do a mixture of both.
The many places you can go in the universe.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for our upcoming and recently decided planets episode.
Cool. So Matt, what have you been up to?
I've it's gone on for 2 weeks now. I've been rearranging the Warhammer room again. So
that is really fun though.
Well, you know, the positive aspects of it are the reward you get where you put it all back in, and seeing, you know, just seeing the stuff you've been working on, the quantity. So there's positives and negatives to it, but it's all sort of back in place and it feels good. So that's positive. And, you know, lining up all the armies is an amazing feeling within the hobby.
Nice.
It's not
Have you
really
filled your Detolf? Is your Detolf full?
I haven't touched that, so I was just sort of shunting it around the room very, very carefully because I couldn't be bothered to empty it.
If you're listening in confusion, the Detolf is the glass case you can buy from IKEA, and it's just the best Warhammer display case out there,
and probably the cheapest.
Damn, top furniture tips here at the start of the show.
But I still need to give everything a dust. So that'll happen at some point.
Here's another hot tip. I'm on a hot tip run today, Matt. This is called a kabuki brush. It's a makeup brush for doing blusher. It is the best Warhammer figure duster
that looks good.
that exists.
Yeah.
It's very light, it's very fine, and it gets in all the nooks and crannies. Would
like
recommend.
I use a leaf blower personally. I like to get all of my Warhammer done in one destructive blast.
What about you then, Stoney? I know you've been beavering away on ZBrush.
That's right. I've been ZBrushing it. I've just had a week of trying to do something in ZBrush. Basically, I'm back on my Gene Stealer cults. You know, I've mentioned in the past on this show, I was feeling a little bit I felt a little bit like I was not quite doing what I really wanted to be doing necessarily with my stuff on ZBrush or whatever. And it was really nice this week to just sit down and just be like, right, I'm just going to sort this out, basically. So I sorted out my Gene Stealer cult Majos. Because I think as well, this is the first time I did a whole army, and I felt a bit kind of overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that I was trying to do. Because all I really wanted, all I want to do is make a fucking Gene Stealer cult limo, but I've just got to make an entire army to go with it, or it's not gonna work. So it was a bit of an overwhelming task, really. But now coming back to it and having another kind of fresh crack at things, I sort of feel a lot better about it. And things are going on the right track. So stay tuned. I'm going to do some test prints this weekend and see how it goes. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Positive, upbeat, happy, all that good stuff. Ready to meet the day, the new day.
finance, cutting into technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast podcast news. Hear every episode.
Like a well-endowed flasher at Adepticon, there's been some big reveals. Right, at Adepticon. So what's happened? What's been revealed?
Well, it was a real day, wasn't it, Matt? I think you watched it as well. Of like,
No, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the live thing.
way to kill the buzz
Caught the
there,
ends.
Matt.
Yeah.
At least pretend this is the happy episode. Jesus. Well, should we start with the old world? Because I think that was the biggest reveal.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Should we get some pictures
next
up?
news story.
Kill Team was the next reveal, and we talked last time. I think the last Kill Team we said there hasn't been a Tyranids one for ages.
Mhm.
Are we going to get Gene Stealers? And completely left field, we get Raveners, which I'm the Tyranid guy. I love the Raveners in Space Marine 2. I think they look amazing. They're like the perfect version of the old sculpts. And then they released this Kill Team box, and I think they're just dog shit.
I think the original blast of new Tyranids, where I was like, oh my god, Tyranids look a bit different again, has really worn off to the point where new Tyranids just look like Tyranids again. And like I did see these model releases and was like, oh look, there's two Tyranids. If I squint, they look like every other Tyranid I can imagine. So yeah, that was kind of where I was at with them.
I sort of, when I saw them, I sort of did a double take. Like, is that meant to be a Tyranid, or is that a Tyranid crossed with something else? I couldn't put my finger on it.
They don't fit
Some of them
the
do
range.
look a bit odd.
I mean, it doesn't help. It's interesting that they're the first Tyranids for ages that haven't been revealed as Hive Fleet Leviathan, right? They're not purple and white.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's a bit jarring to start with. They're Hive Fleet Typhon. But they have a dog shit was too strong. I came in hot, guys. They're not dog shit, but they're not what I want. They don't fit the rest of my Tyranid army. They have all the things about them that I don't like about the big new Tyranids, where they've just packed everything onto the same model. Every single bit is over sculpted.
I guess in a way though, because they've just done this big Tyranid release, and we've always said like, hey, Kill Team is the place for like weird stuff. Like it would be a bit disappointing if they just released like a set of Gene Stealers that you could only get in the what's a name box. So I guess they had to make something, that was different in a way. And
I think Raveners was a great choice. Like, I don't disagree with like that choice of unit is wonderful. I just find it odd that they feel the need, I guess, because it's Kill Team and you have specialists in Kill Team, so they all need these like funny party hats bits, which just look ridiculous. So they actually have their own individual character. I'm hoping you can just build them as like whatever the most basic version is and have 5 of them for a squad for 40k, which I think you can. But I'm just like, I don't understand how Games Workshop can have the 3D modeled IP for the Ravener as it is in Space Marine 2 and not just hit print. Like, you've perfectly rendered a perfect Ravener, but then you've got someone to design like a different, more cartoony, bobbly.
I mean, it's like we always say. I mean, it's no real secret that models are like sort of 2 years, like delayed, really, aren't they? So like by the and where was Space Marine 2 then? It probably wasn't like they
that's
probably
a good
weren't.
point.
Like whoever was just starting up the Raveners there, they'd probably both had the same. Who knows? Maybe they both started off with the same ZBrush project file and just in T pose, and they both just treated it differently.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I'll give them a bit more of a pass than I had been, but
no, they are dog shit. They are dog shit.
Matt, what did you think of the AdMech offering in this box?
Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of a shame that they've got the technologist from Blackstone Fortress in it. I mean, they're just servitors, but again, they're plastic servitors, which is always good because the metal one's been out. But I'm sure there were some plastic ones you could get hold of now. But yeah, I mean, they're just plastics. They're just plastic servitors. It was like, okay, yeah. I mean, for a range, it's kind of disappointing as a kill team to think of what the AdMech could be.
Yeah.
The AdMech could have been like 10 crazy tech priests, like one tech priest and his like retinue of tech adepts all in red robes that are all like fucking bonkers.
A guy with his head separated on a speaker stand. And like carry it. That's right. If you're looking for an alternative, don't forget to get over to Cults 3D and check out Large Blast podcast models.
The poses on the servitors is just all so bland as well. Like,
yeah,
it's just such a weird
to be that though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's like, that's in a way
it's
like
really, it must be hard to do. Exciting servitor, but
no, not really, because they're servitors. They don't even have to have legs. Like, how cool would it have been to see one of these with like some tracks or maybe like a tripod leg?
The onesie thing is really weird as well. It just makes them look like cyberpunk Slipknot, you know, like with those spoiler suits and the masks, or like,
they're just like not original.
I feel like the servitors is the wrong unit choice. Like we were saying with the Tyranids, maybe the unit choice was the right one.
You know,
I think
it's funny.
You know, a load of Gene Stealers always come out in box sets. There's always Gene Stealers in box sets. This is not the right unit choice.
Games Workshop are so ready to retcon other stuff that looks shit, but for some reason they're still like, no, a servitor is just like a man dressed in like a bin bag, basically. It's like what, with like some panels stuck on his front. It's still like not quite.
They've just got it completely wrong for me. Like the things that needed a proper top-down redesign were servitors, and the things that didn't were raveners. The raveners needed higher detail, and the servitors needed a redesign. And that makes this, gentlemen, the first Kill Team box we've been unhappy with all the contents. The last two, we haven't liked half of it. Is it the end times?
Dethroned.
I have to say, I have a theory about one of the next Kill Teams. I think because they have a double spread in the new Imperial Guard Codex, that there will be another Kill Team for Imperial Guard, and it will be the Mordian Iron Guard. I think I think Games Workshop, because the Death Corps.
You're right.
The Death Corps of Krieg, you can paint as Armageddon Steel Legion, and Armageddon is starting to be spoken about again, which coincides with the Krieg release. But
there will definitely be
Mordian Iron Guard.
Guys, they'll do the Valhalla Snowmen and the
will they do the Talon?
They'll do the Talon.
Well, will they?
Yeah, but those two are really easy to convert from the Death Corps of Krieg. But I think the Mordian Iron Guard, because people 3D print all those bits, like the heads or the Praetorians, but they won't do the Praetorians, but the 3D print all those bits to stick on the existing kits. And I think, you know, Kill Team is an excuse to bring out models to stop people buying third-party additions to their kits. I really think that the Mordian Iron Guard will come out, and it'll be fantastic. It'll be the best Kill Team. It's going to be amazing.
Because it's gone off the boil. This was funny about the Adepticon previews. I don't know if you boys were following this, but they called it the Year of Chaos. So everyone was really excited, waiting for Chaos reveals, and Chaos got 3 single models and were told that their codexes would be delayed further than they were originally going to be. So they got
I mean, that's very chaosy. So that's fine.
Lost in the warp. This was my favorite model of the whole reveals. With this, I think it's called the Slaughterbound, big corn guy. This is a guy that's like taken a demon inside him and is just like got properly jacked off of it.
There's the phrasing of that last sentence was so I don't even know where to begin. But yes, anyway.
It's these shorts I'm making. I keep sounding like Nigella.
So I he's a weird model, a strange old model.
I like him. His head looks like, I think it's just a picture, but his head looks like it's floating in his armor.
Yeah, it does. Connected by the nails.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool though. That's like it's like an obliterator. Yeah, it's wicked. It's like a corn obliterator.
It's a big old buff dude who's busting out of his armor. I like the way that his leg armor is turning into muscle.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Is that on the paint job, or is that
that's
ridges
sculpted
in the armor? Nice.
They've done. Yeah. You can trace that through the old Chaos ranges, can't you? So I like that. That's like an element of the old range coming through. Yeah.
Really nice big centerpiece model. That. So I would have been happy if I was a World Eaters player.
That's something that always used to freak me out when I was younger. Like looking at the Chaos models, like how does that feel? Like you're blending with your armor. Like at what point can you feel? Yeah, there's so many
There's a really
interesting aspects to it.
You should read the first Heretic, which is Argul Tal's backstory. Like
I think I've listened to that one a long time ago,
and they describe how it happens, and it's gross. We talked about this guy a while ago. He was the Death Guard offering we've already spoken about. The Thousand Suns, Stoney. I think when I scroll down to these Thousand Suns offering, if you haven't seen it yet, I think we might get a bobbins out of you.
I think I know these. I think I know who you're talking about. I actually like. I don't hate. I really don't hate these. I know why you might imagine that you might get a Stony Bobbins out of these, but I'm like, the more I kind of look at them, I don't know. Are they 40k? I don't know. Are they like? But can you use Zangors in the Thousand Suns 40k army anymore, or did they like phase them out? You can.
Yeah, you can.
Because that's just like a Zangor in a Dreadnought, right? Surely that's kind of what that is.
Yeah, well, these are like their AI essentially.
Oh, right.
But they're replacing this model, the Castellax Archaea class 30k model, which is one of the coolest Dreadnought AI models ever.
30k model. It's a 40K.
No, these are 40k,
no, it's 40K.
But they're like the 40k. Thousand Suns have these guys now, but in 30k they had those guys that you're looking at on the screen now, the Castellax, which are just like superior in absolutely every way.
It's a bit bobbins, isn't it? It's a bit bobbins. I don't know. I don't want to be. I'm being positive. It's the positive episode. You're trying to force me to say this thing is bobbins. I think it looks kind of cool. I think the players that play Thousand Suns might be. No,
there is a positive here. The positive is that the much laughed at ATV is finally not the worst model in the 40k range.
But perhaps the biggest and most let-downing reveal of Adepticon was if you're a Grey Knights player. The long, unloved Grey Knights were told that their codex and Deep Rules is indeed on the way, and the Grey Knights will be involved in Armageddon. But they won't be getting a model. They will be getting a additional add-on sprue for the Dread Knight, everybody's favourite Grey Knights model. Essentially, the Grey Knights players were told, you've had nothing for years, we're giving you a dick towel. Yeah. You're getting a dick towel for your Dread Knight.
Yeah, I did see some rumblings about this and could not be asked to read any further about it, especially after seeing the shit model they released, which is just I thought this might be the new Dread Knight, which looked exactly the same as the old Dread Knight, but with now a ball and flail, which seems even more unwieldy to use when you're in a robot. Like the whole fit, like it's just, I don't know. People are like, oh, why don't Space Marines wear their helmets into battle? The one in the Dread Knight also doesn't have a helmet on. It's like the whole thing is the stupidest.
Slowly, there's a massive book on top of it now.
Oh, mate, I don't know. It's bobbins. The Dread Knight is bobbins. I'll give you that. It's still bobbins and it remains bobbins. Positivity is crumbling.
The Emperor sent me to redeem in holy fire.
The grimdark of the future sure can leave some of its inhabitants feeling a tad glum. But we here at the Large Blast Podcast believe that we should view the future as nothing but an opportunity for more smiles and hugs with our new Positivity Outreach program. But don't take my word for it. Here's some testimonies from some of our many happy customers.
My name's Greg, and my hand turned into a crab claw when I was messing around with some forbidden chaos knowledge. Thanks to the help of the Large Blast Positivity program, I now use my crab claw for arts and crafts rather than evil and despair.
Hi, it's Korax here, Primarch of the Raven Guard, and I used to spend all day sitting around in graveyards reading poetry and sulking. But then thanks to the Large Blast Podcast Positivity scheme, sometimes I now go and play Frisbee at the weekends with my Vampire the Masquerade RPG squad.
So get ready, Large Blast Podcast listener, to have your chakras aligned and your mind reassigned. In the happy light of the 41st millennia, there is only love. That's right, it is Positive Hammer, where we're going to take a look at the positiveness that exists in Warhammer, right? Right, guys?
Right.
It's definitely there. We haven't tried to force this episode whatsoever. Who wants to go first with some positivity?
Oh, well, I don't mind going first if it would make you guys happy.
Please,
go ahead.
You.
Oh, excellent. Well, there's nothing that makes me happier than going home to see my mummy. And you may not know this, but there is a Primarch who grew up with a mummy to all counts and purposes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's that then?
Big Blue, the most well-adjusted, I would say, of all of the Primarchs, also had a loving mother.
Okay. Do tell us more.
Well, her name was Tarasha Uton, and she's not massive in the story, but she's one of the, like, you know how Dan Abnett really likes to try and make characters really approachable and understandable in the modern world by sometimes saying they were one of Jason and the Argonauts. He also decided that Gilliman needed a mum. And she was the seneschal to Conor Gilliman, which was Rabute's predecessor on kind of running that section of the galaxy. So she's like this really strong-willed, boisterous, like matronly lady who essentially raises Gilliman in not just like from a child, but teaches him lots of ways behind governance and stuff. So she's like a proper influential, motherly figure, I guess, which I don't think you can say any of the other Primarchs had. I know some Primarchs have got like stand-in dads, but they're like Corferon isn't exactly someone to look up to. You know, Luther can be a bit of a dick brother. Perturabo had a family, but they weren't very nice. Whereas Gilliman seems to have had this like close family unit growing up, which makes sense for his character, I think.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking it's never really occurred to me, but obviously the Ultramarines are sort of Roman-esque, and a lot of the Roman emperors had very strong mothers and very strong female influences on them. And I wonder if that's sort of a bit of a, not a literary device, but you know, it's there's an influence there from Rome with the mother figure. But I guess, I mean, when you hear the Gilliman stories, he is one of the few who is raised in positivity to be a leader and to rule, but not in a way like to crush the people that he rules over, but to maintain an empire in the stars. And to make the people within that empire better off.
And she like, there's not many of the Primarchs that have someone that check them, and they're like, actually, what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah,
you should change it. So I got this little passage from Unremembered Empire, which is a discussion that he has with her as he's watching the lions descending on the planet and bringing all of the Dark Angels to like do a big march up to Gilliman's palace.
Yeah, so before you read it out, so he is already full Primarch.
Yeah.
He's in his armor. He knows about the Emperor. He knows about everything.
Yeah.
And now he's about to get educated by his mother.
Yeah. So the lion is descending, and Gilliman always has this like kind of hatred as the lion, I think, because he sees him as his closest rival.
Is this where they're about to potentially go to war with each other?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So Gilliman says, "So my people think you will save them when I cannot." Gilliman had asked as he strapped on his ceremonial plate in the residency's fitting chamber. Uton, so his mother, blows a raspberry at Gilliman and says, "They celebrate the moment, you foolish boy," she replied. "They welcome his arrival. He is noble and he is loyal. Are you jealous of him?" And Gilliman's like, "No, Mum, I'm not jealous, honest." And she says, you are, because he is the Lord of the firstborn. I never thought I would see such jealousy in you, my dear lord. It does not become you, but it is also rather sweet. So that kind of goes backwards and forwards, and she schools him on like, don't be jealous, like it's okay. And then she winds him up. She winds him up at the end and says, she calls him 8th found Lord of the 13th, just to really drive the nails in. So that's the kind of like, it is this really nice relationship that exists in 40k that you don't see at that level of character.
Yeah, very obviously kind of grounding, taking the piss, kind of nice relationship. Yeah.
And then when Kurz tries to kill her, he loses his shit. So, it's good.
Well, there you go. A nice positive Guniman's mum. What's she up to these days? Has she been
Well, I think by that point she's had a lot of rejuvenat treatment. I'm pretty sure she's not around anymore in the 40k.
Not in 40k,
timeline.
yeah.
She's not
just
in
the
40k,
memory.
just looking like David Guest,
Isn't
like
there-
pinned back face, like plastic surgery.
Isn't
out
there?
the
I'm
wazoo.
sure there's it's hinted at in some of the 40k new lore where, after he's awoken after 7,000 years, so his mother would have already been dead for a few thousand, but he is reawoken in 40k, and he is alone at that point. The lion is not around, so he's the only loyalist Primarch in this like imperial hellhole, and he wakes up full of positivity, like what's happened,
Yeah.
and sets about, over the last 200 years trying to correct some of the wrongs that he can correct. And I'm sure it's hinted at that he is very lonely, and one aspect to that loneliness is the fact that he misses his mum, and he still thinks about her 10,000 years later, that he still has that human emotional connection with this woman.
Well, that's the kind of thing. It's sort of like, I mean, you talked about Perturabo before, but he would kind of see family and stuff as like being weak, wouldn't he? Like having any kind of like emotional connection, like would be a weakness. Whereas, like, obviously, that's why Perturabo turned around to his mum and was like, "Fuck off, mum! I don't want to know."
Essentially, they were pretty mean to him though. But I've just seen the last bit of that little discussion, which I think might explain why he hasn't palled up with the lion very much in the 40k timeline. Is she leans in and whispers in his ear, "They're very, very good at that marching, aren't they, Gilliman?" Newton said, gesturing at the square below. Gilliman replies, "I imagine they must get plenty of time to practice." "That's the most acid thing I've ever heard you say, Reboot," she declared. He grins at her. "Brace yourself, Mum. My big brother's come to stay. The acid is only just starting to flow."
Uh-oh.
Classic.
I've kind of forgotten how much he doesn't really get on with the lion. That explains a lot in the 40k timeline.
And don't forget, gang, positivity is not just about your mind, but your body too. And you can pick up the Large Blast Podcast's new book, Codex Ketosis, now, with all the tips you need to get ripped, just like the Large Blast Podcast boys. We teach all the highest level techniques in crunchercise, Katachan ab slam, and Ogren strength training.
I wanted to talk about the Gaunt's Ghosts, just touch on the novel series and the fact that over like 25 years or whatever, like the books are so full of human connection, which they kind of have to be, but they're units of infantry soldiers fighting in space against mostly horrible chaos shit, flying through the stars on ships that don't allow them to look out, and they have no idea where they are, but there's still the human connection. And people die, but there's the emotions of how units deal with death, and then there's how they deal with new recruits, all the classic stuff that you see in Hollywood and TV, but which makes it very relatable. But it's written in a way where you can imagine that squad of 10 men and women in that bit of a hive city in the 40th millennium. It doesn't, when you read it, it's not ridiculous that they have all this positivity. It feels natural. And there's also it's not just the squad and the human relations. There's also the positivity with like the main characters like Gaunt and his relationship with the Imperial cult, and the Saint, and how there's none of like the, we know the Imperium to be like a horrible pastiche of regimes. It's everything we know it to be, but at the same time, the things like the Saint in the book and the religious aspects that it doesn't go into that much detail about, but it's hinted at, give the characters so much positivity and strength. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they really.
But that's really the thing, isn't it? Is like even in the future, they're talking about 40,000. Year 40,000, whatever. They're still fighting for humanity at the end of the day, isn't it? And that's really what it's all about, is being human. It's like developing, so we could be you could be in Necromunda or you could be in medieval France, but there's still humans are still humans, and that's kind of what the whole sort of point of the human race fighting other races in 40,000 is, right?
Yeah. I think like the flip side, the foil to the grimdark is the hope and the faith. Right. Yeah. So I think you could say that like hope and positivity are pretty much entwined in the whole story. Like, and brotherhood is something that goes all the way through. I think we've just been talking about future episodes. We're going to do a whole episode on bromances at some point.
Well, if you're talking a lot of those about heart-touching bromances, then have I got one for you guys that's really going to cheer up your day, and that is the short story called Bob and Gav. That is a short story that's written about two Ogryns, and it's written from the point of view of the Ogryn Gav. And it's a short story, and it basically contains such touching lines as Gav loved having potato peeling contests with Bob. He always lost, but he didn't care because he was peeling potatoes for the Emperor. Of course, this being 40,000, Bob ends up getting killed by a Chaos Sorcerer, and Gav ends up caving said sorcerer's head in. The last few lines of the book are, "You killed Bob, smash! You killed Bob, smash! You killed Bob, smash!" As Gav plunges his hands into the fractured skull of the Chaos Sorcerer.
Wow. Oh, so he wins.
I guess so.
Is revenge a positive? Are we looking for positives in revenge?
I feel like that's the Emperor would see that as a positive, right?
That is, the Chaos Cultist dies. The Chaos
Hatred is Sorcerer. The greatest gift that the Emperor gave mankind, or something, right?
Keep a gold chain on my neck, fly as a jet. Boy, better treat me with respect.
Hello, my name is Conrad Kurz, and before I found the Large Blast Positivity Program, I'm what you might call a bit of a rascal. I used to enjoy doing things like killing people in their sleep and skinning them and adorning my armour with their guts, whereas now my armour's simply adorned with the Hello Kitty stickers. And I stab my sleeping victims in the eyes with cocktail umbrellas so they wake up, blinded, but giving anyone else in the room a good old laugh. Hey, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm getting better, all right? Positivity.
Positivity is not just about having a good time. Like one of the characters that I found most interesting is the development of Belisarius Cawl, and I'm sure we've spoken about him in depth in an episode before. But like he's sort of a crazy character. He's kind of funny. And the way he's hasn't he got like 3 brains now, and he's over 10,000 years old. He's got the Black Library stuff for the Horus Heresy, or during the Horus Heresy. And then he's got the stuff that is in 40k when he's developed the Primaris Marines. And he's still like a bit of a funny, he could have been a really grimdark character. He could have been he could have been really bitter. I know he's not very happy that he isn't in charge of Mars, whatever that position is called. He's just an Archmagos, and a lot of people in the AdMech don't like him because he's doing all his own projects. But essentially he's just an old man in his shed tinkering around with stuff, and he's been doing it for 10,000 years.
He clearly has fun.
Yeah, and the book, I can't remember the book, but where he's got the prototype Primaris Marine, and they have this like funny relationship. Yeah. And this Primaris Marine is going, what's the planet that's linked in with the Ultramarines, I think, and there's like, and they're walking through all these ruins, and they're just the two of them.
Is guy, is he called Lisu?
He's got some,
he's basically, it turns out that he's got he's a mix of everything,
genes
inside him, so he's a bit of everything, isn't he?
Yeah,
but he's got this like faux father. That's another father-son relationship.
Oh yeah, it is.
Actually, but he has this like, "Are you my dad?" and calls like, kind of treats him like a son, and is really sad when he goes off the rails.
But that's kind of an interesting point though, because isn't that he must be like literally the only Space Marine that doesn't see the Emperor as their father?
Yeah,
like he he sees some crazy tech priest as a father figure.
Well, I think it shows real positivity on Cool's side that like he has the ability to literally switch off emotions, but he chooses not to because he likes to have a laugh and feel happiness.
I haven't thought about that before. Yeah,
he has an AI version of himself that he doesn't need to function in any
which is
way,
just
but
a
he
joke.
still chooses to retain some humanity for the lols.
Yeah. You know, the classic pastiche of a tech priest is that they are cold, calculating, don't have emotions, don't feel or see the need for emotion. In fact, they see the need for emotion as negative, and it's almost like Cool has worked out that actually having those human elements is a positive, and that having those human elements can make him, it's another. I don't know what the saying is, but it's just, it's another string to his bow. Rather than removing all of the humanity, he's very much human. He's just living in a machine. But one character that I feel like a bit more interested in is the Lord Solar. What's he called?
Lord Solar Macarius, the new one.
No. Well, he's not Lord Solar.
Leontus is the
Leontus. Yeah, like there's more and more lore with him in. He just seems like an interesting character where
are you about to claim that the man on the rubber horse leading the defense of the segment of Solar is a happy-go-lucky kind of guy?
Yeah.
Is that what you've learned about him?
Yeah.
I think because someone has been happy at some time doesn't necessarily mean we can include them in the positivity episode.
No. The way that his lore is written is that he's been like a high flying commander for like 100 years, and now he's the Lord Solar of Segmentum Solar. He actually feels tremendous guilt and empathy with the troops that he commands. He
doesn't sound happy
or
positive.
No. Okay. Well, my aspect of positivity there is that they could have written in like so many Imperial Guard commanders, so much of the Imperium is what we classically define as grimdark. But again, I mean, he's kind of a character. Maybe this goes into the argument of like, are we losing the grimdark? They've had all these new characters come in that aren't so grimdark. Like I don't know. He just seems to be. He's positive about the defense of the Imperium. He doesn't feel like it's a hopeless cause. He feels empathy for the troops that he commands. He feels, it's like guilt and.
There's a fucking heat rash from that goddamn rubber horse. That's all he feels.
I feel like he's an interesting character, and I'm kind of intrigued to see where they go with him. I mean, I know they've had a
character.
Book.
Has he been bringing toys to the children and
toys?
I kind of, if I really try, I can see what you're saying about like the way that someone leads can be seen as like a positive manner. Like, because there are other Primarchs that do that. Like everyone knows the Salamanders, right? They have this they're like people first. They like to give the humans a cuddle after they've saved them, rather than just.
But it's almost kind of like there's this weird thing that I think that the Salamanders thing is really odd, because it's like the Emperor says, "Oh, you're like one of my finest creations," or something, doesn't he? He says to Vulcan, like, "You're one of my best creations because you're actually the only one that gives a fuck about people, and everyone else is kind of a knob."
Yeah.
But like he also kind of like, it seems like if every chapter kind of has their role to play, and if Vulcan's is to basically end up sparing humanity, isn't it? Because they leave him in charge of the button to blow up the world or something, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's
that's a positive. That's a positive thing.
And
that he decides not to press that button.
You're the only one that's positive enough to give it that extra 10 seconds. That means we might actually be able to turn.
He's that dude on that submarine that everyone talks about that like saw the Russians fire. The
Russian guy was like, he was like, this is a very unusual order or whatever. Let's not start Cold War. Yeah. But that also kind of like raises some weird questions, because if it's like the Emperor bred him for that role, then like,
why didn't he do the other ones?
Why didn't he just breed them all to be nice, so they didn't all have to be like, I don't know. It's sort of bizarre, isn't it? It's that weird kind of like future. It's sort of this weird kind of like, oh, I'm making you to help out in the future, but this weird kind of like, how much does the Emperor actually know about that sort of
I guess
stuff. I
because
guess
there's that theory, isn't there, that like he didn't actually choose all of those aspects. The aspects came from like his personality randomly splitting between them. So like
Right.
everyone is an aspect of him.
Mhm.
So it's not like he picked him. He just happens to have got his compassion, whereas
Right,
others
okay.
got his psychopathy.
Right.
But yeah, people like we know about the salamanders, but I think a good example of that kind of leading in a way that's positive is Korax, because Korax has like a pretty horrible upbringing. I know he's my Primarch and I'm biased, but his like role as the liberator and his refusal to destroy a planet in the way that other leaders are happy with. Other leaders are happy to go in and blow the planet to pieces, and he's all about like, no, we will engineer a way for the people to liberate themselves through like subterfuge and guerrilla tactics. And that's why when he meets Kurz, they hate each other. I think that's quite a kind of positive way that even in the face of the ability to take a planet instantly, he'd rather go the long way around to save and give people the chance to liberate themselves. I think it's quite a positive way of doing things.
So they could, but then it's like, but if they're all going to like fight a war or whatever, surely it's better because at the end it'll be like, oh, the planet's been decimated, but at least we did the revolution or whatever. And then all these space marines show up in their armor with big guns and everything, going like, "Well done, guys. We knew you could do it." It's like, fuck you. You could have come and given us a hand when we were fighting the war.
Stoney, you're like one step away from playing the role of Kurz there, being like, if we'd only skinned alive innocent people and hung them in the street, this could have been over.
You're right. The positivity. I've got to get more positive. You're right, and I think I know just the story, guys. I've got a story, and this goes back a little bit to what Matt was talking about with his tech priest stuff. Because did you know that there was actually a husband and wife tech priest in the novel, The Betrayal of Calth? There is Magos Alkehest and Magos Mir Ed Taven. That are both like completely turned off all their emotions and everything, but they consider themselves married and say that they feel love for each other. And when the world bearers attack Calth, the husband tech priest, Mir Ed Tavern, is killed. But he's the only one that's created some kind of weird computer code that can be used to like slow down the word bearers' attack and let the Ultramarines do a counterattack. And the only person that can access this code is the tech priest playing the wife in this couple, who basically uses the power of love to decode the encryption and release the computer program onto the invaders' comms.
Wow, there we are. That's like the end of Inception, the end of Interstellar, mate. Reaching back through time in the library.
That's right, a little bit, because no one, because it's like, oh, who knows what the code is? Who knows what his password is? And it's like,
boobs. 80.
Yeah, there's got to be some weird tech priest porn there.
Hi everyone, it's me, your boy Belisarius Call. Whenever anyone asks me what it is that keeps me going in this grim dark future, my answer is always the same. I did it all for the pussy. Peace out y'all, Belisarius got shit to do.
Well, what about relaxation, boys? Yeah, that's something I like to do. You know, when you've had stressful days working in the front lines of the trenches, where are you going to go to relax and literally have fun? It's the pleasure world.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like Las Vegas in space.
Las Vegas in space. I think the best example of Las Vegas in space that I could find is this thing called the Twisted Sisters. Have you heard about them? They're two
For those who are about to rock, we salute you. Is that one of theirs?
That's AC/DC, mate.
Oh no, who was? Oh fuck, who was Twisted Sister? Like,
that is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, they are a bad Twisted Sister.
You can stop rock roll. No, that's someone else. I can't remember.
Well, this is a place where there's two identical planets that are just orbiting each other. So they're geographically identical. They're like mirror worlds, and nobody knows why. The AdMech love them. They've been studying them for years and years. But they're like really, really pretty, pristine worlds that people found in the Jericho Reach system. So quite like far out. But they've become these pleasure worlds. And over time, they're called Delphos and Aiatos. and I'm sure there's some historical stuff you can delve into there. But one of them becomes this like priest pleasure planet. No jokes. I know what you're thinking. But they go, and the Imperium's like, these two places are weird. There's a hint of warpery about the fact they're like mirror images of each other. We're going to go and build a cathedral there to make it all okay. But it takes them so long to build one cathedral that in the time they've built a cathedral and like made this pristine, beautiful place all quiet and serene, and people go there to do martial arts and worship the emperor, on the other mirror planet, someone's built a massive casino, essentially. So you end up with these two planets orbiting each other that are both for pleasure, but one's for like full-on relaxation and worship, and one's for blood sports and dollar and fight clubs and betting on carnage. And there's these underground coliseums and stuff. So you could be on one planet busting your nut, and then you can go and make up for it on the other planet by praying on your knees, you know? I think that is like the prime 40k pleasure world. They've got everything from whorehouses to self-flagellation. There were a few other ones that I saw as well. Like they have these paradise worlds and stuff that are just like pretty places. I think Eisenhorn's got this like big estate and this like vineyard planet that's known for its wines and grapes and things. So there are nice places in 40k. We often talk about Birmingham and hive cities and pollution, but there's a lot of planets out there in the galaxy, and some of them are still forests and lakes.
They'll be all right, haven't they? Some of them, yeah.
There's also planets that don't get touched by warfare, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like you could literally be born in the Imperium and you could just die a natural death in the Imperium and never see a space marine, never hear of a space marine, never see a guardsman, never join the army, never do anything.
Even knowing of it, there's places like if you lived on one of the 500 worlds that's like quite central in like the perfectly run system.
Yeah.
It must be great.
Yeah.
The perfect life does exist in 40k. It's just
it's
less exciting.
One particular planet that never gets reported about.
It's like we're receiving the news, isn't it? You know, like why is news 90% negative?
Oh yeah,
because that's the stories we want to read.
News.
No one wants to read about dude happily working his 9 till 5 and getting married and drinking wine on his vineyard in the 500 worlds.
I say I don't like cricket.
Well, do you guys want to know about a story about the Crimson Fists that's kind of positive? Yeah. All right, cool. You know that the Crimson Fists, they're run by a guy called Petro Canto, right?
Pedro Cantor.
Petro Cantor. And his homeworld is being attacked by orcs. Oh no, orc warg. Gotta abandon everybody because we're getting our asses kicked like we always do because we're the Crimson Fists. So he's got to abandon a big town and take all the population to another town where they won't get their asses kicked. This time it will be different. And he sees whilst they're walking, there's a lady and she's carrying 3 babies with her. And she's like, oh no, you go ahead from me, babies. You leave me, you go ahead from me. And they will go ahead from her. And she faints. She's like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Leave me here. I shall die by the side of the road like the dog I am. You will go forward, Crimson Fists. And Petro Canto comes over to her and says,
You have done enough.
And he raises his big fist above his head, and all the other people think, oh, he's going to deliver the mercy of the Emperor. But then he swoops down his arm and he picks her up like a big old baby in his arms, and he goes,
You have done enough. You have carried the duty of the Empire on your back. Now it is time that the Empire carries you.
And carries her the rest of the way to a new town where they all get overrun by orcs and the planet is eventually destroyed. But, you know, nice and positive. Petro Canto, the coolest guy in Warhammer.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Doing the research for this made me really happy. But something that brought me crashing back down to earth, and perhaps a good way to end this section, was a description from our old friend of the show, Trazin the Infinite, about pleasure worlds and perhaps some of the darker side. And he said about a planet called Serenade, which is a really pretty planet, apparently. Any place that takes its money from visitors is, to a certain extent, an illusion. Those musicians playing calming music, the server at the cafe, the players at the opera house likely to rise at daybreak and rush to work through crowded streets and creaking underground trains. A great deal of labor and suffering is expended to make Serenade so joyful for leisure visitors. To produce the songs, plays, and devotional art that makes it renowned throughout the system, the leaded glass windows are not quite so beautiful when one sees the black, poisoned fingers of the artisans that made them.
Oh, it's like going on holiday to Dubai.
So, worn out from the Crystal Labyrinth, I hear that Stoney doesn't have a Lords of Lore. So I've got a very quick one to round off the show, boys.
Why are you bringing up old shit? I've got loads of Lords of Lore. I've loaded up with Lords of Lore. It's just no one wants to hear them.
So, we've been waiting for Fulgrim to come back for a long time now. And King of Warhammer YouTube, Auspex Tastits, recently did a video one-on-oneing Fulgrim against other models within 40k.
Great.
Okay. I want to know, we're going to take it in turns and see, you're going to have 4 guesses each. Whoever gets the most correct guesses of models that manages to kill Fulgrim in current 40k one-on-one wins.
Okay.
15 million points.
Hell yeah.
So we will start, as he never gets to play, we'll start with Stoney. So Stoney, you get first guess.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with?
Fulgrim.
Go with clone Fulgrim. Fulgrim versus Fulgrim.
Yeah.
I'm afraid they tried that and reality unraveled. So that's a big fat 0 for you.
Damn it.
Matt.
What?
You got to pick a model that beats Fulgrim in current 40K.
Shit, sorry. I thought you were going to tell me a model. A model. Okay, so model in the new game.
There's 7. There's 7 that exist.
That beats,
so first to 3.
That beats Fulgrim. Angron.
Correct. 66% of the time, Angron beats Fulgrim. Stoney, can you bring it back?
A model that beats Fulgrim. Did Matt say the Invader ATV yet?
He hasn't, but it could be a good choice. Could be a strong choice.
I think it could be it's probably the Invader ATV, I reckon.
Let me just double check. Let me just go back to the stats. Oh, Stoney, I'm afraid they didn't even test it. But it probably would have done.
If they didn't test it, I think that's.
So I'm going to give you a point.
A point for that. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah. Back to you, Matt.
Does it include Forge World?
No.
Okay.
They are all characters, by the way. So not like a Land Raider or a Monarch.
Okay. 7, so 6 other characters that beat Fulgrim. Are they just in combat, or does it include shooting?
It's both. It's like one round of shooting and combat.
They're bait as well. They have a debate.
stripping point.
Oh god. Well, I won't go for another Primarch. So what about the Silent King?
Correct. 80% of the time, the Silent King kills
80% of the time.
80%.
All right. What about the Avatar of Cain?
Oh, the Avatar, I don't think did. Actually, it's not on my list.
It's not on the list. These are all points. These are all points. If they're not on the list, they're as good as a point.
So, Matt, if you get this,
okay,
you win, I guess.
Who?
But I'm not going to let you say the other Primarchs because
no, I was going to say I'm not going to say another Primarch. What about Gazgul?
No.
Oh,
Gazgul was not.
Okay.
Stoney.
Who's really big and tough? I don't know. It's been a while since I played a 40k.
I'll give you a clue.
Uh-huh.
There's 2 on here that are very black.
Of course. Vulcan. Oh, wait, no.
Not currently a model.
Okay, let me think. I don't know. What, he's a big snake. What is snakes? Is there like a mongoose themed model? What about, is it like a titan? Could a titan take down a warhound titan? That's
Stoney, I'm gonna give you it.
Yes.
Because I know you won't know its name, but Canis Rex, which is the named Imperial Knight character.
Exactly.
I'll give you that. So it's 2 apiece, which we like on this. So for the win, the next correct answer wins 15 million points.
Okay.
Surely not Abaddon.
Not Abaddon.
No,
is that your answer? Is that your...
Yeah.
Oh, Stoney, back to you.
Was that my last one? Oh, shit.
Oh, you threw it all away, did you, Matt? That was foolish. What about Tree Man and Ent?
Incorrect.
No?
No.
I don't know then. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll give you one more guess each then.
All right.
I'll give you one more clue.
All right.
So to go with black, one of them has wings and one of them has a scythe.
Mortarion.
Oh, the
We
Morgan
said no
Ra.
more Primarchs. And not Morgan Ra. That's it. I'm calling it. It's a draw.
Volden. The
Volden.
the what's he
Volvo.
called? Yeah, the Volvo, the Dark
The
Met guy.
Volvo.
You
He's
could
got
have
a
had
scythe, doesn't he?
Angron at 66% win rate. Bellacore for the black and wings at 66% win rate. We always forget about Bellacore.
The demon.
Bellendacore.
Zarak, Silent King, 80%. Canis Rex, 82%. The Nightbringer was black and scythe. Classic. Always taking out the big boys. 83% of the time. And then top contender against Fulgrim, winning 88% of the time, is Magnus.
Oh, wow. So hang on. You mean Leontis isn't on there?
No, the rubber chicken does not stand up. Apparently, he's really, really good at killing mid-strength models. So he's not great at killing like massive things with massive guns, but he will just not, because he fights first, he'll take out any middle range and not take any damage himself.
Yeah. Well, he's got to beat Guilliman, right? Surely.
He beats Guilliman
every time.
Yeah, he beats Guilliman, and I can't remember what the lion was. It was around 50%.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling positive, right, guys?
There's hope.
There's hope.
No more happiness than a draw.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.